So, yeah, so we've had these for...
I've had these for ages.
Oh yeah, the original.
That's because
They've
my
lasted
back garden.
really well. You know, in terms of... Yes, you've got all the condition actually stood in.
What's that?
The condition they're stood in, actually.
Yeah, I know. They're pretty good.
Yeah, those ones go back. I remember playing a set of these way back. Yeah, nice.
They're great. I mean, I think a lot of it is perhaps kind of like,
Proper players club.
you know, dirty players. I haven't cleaned them. Don't worry. Normally they're clean when I play. It's just that this is the garden. Yeah, I don't know. I think they just feel. You know, when you hit them well, I love it. It's fantastic. But then miss hits aren't great. But then also I feel like, you know, you've been mentioning the Project X shafts for a while, and those shafts are pretty.
Yeah,
old,
and I think
so
there's plenty of options now where we can go a little bit less heavy. We can go a little bit more user friendly.
Yeah.
Which, depending on how much you're playing, you know, that can help just to get a bit more playability into them. Not mean you've got to be quite so absolutely on it to get the best out of them. So, as you said, in terms of getting, you know, best results, well, yeah, we can definitely make it easier.
They don't help. Having just had a baby, these and babies don't go well together. I need like some, you know, super helpful. Exactly. Yeah.
So we're going from. Well, we think the good thing now is we don't have to go kind of way off in terms of head shapes and things to actually get some playability.
Yeah.
And you're not going to have to lose a load of feel and a load of playability in order to get something that's going to feel a little bit easier.
Okay.
So doing anything swing-wise, or just trying to get out and play as and when you can?
Just that, yeah. I mean, I feel like...
What ball are you playing, by the way?
Pro V1 X.
I
tried the Pro V1, but I mean, either one, I'd alternate.
Oh, we use that. If you're primarily in the X, we'll use the X.
Yeah, I've always used the X, thank you. But yeah, just trying to not... again, it sounds like a sort of lame complaint, but the baby stuff with the back. My back is like
picking up.
Yeah. So rotating and then picking babies up doesn't work. So I think I'm going a bit to exaggerate. I'm going a bit like that at the moment.
Right.
So I'm trying to kind of like stay down here, but not really with much success.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of playing a fade and just trying to aim for it and be happy with it if it goes well. But my misses have been just, you know, bad.
Yeah. Do you feel it's more directional misses, strike misses, or all of the above?
It's directional.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't ever really feel like I miss the center of the face that often.
Yeah.
But it's just directional. Yeah. I've had a right miss, and then a right miss consistently, which kind of stays in play, and then a couple times like just, you know, over the top.
Yeah.
Close the face and just gone directly left.
How often are you managing to get out at the moment?
Is it so? Yeah, I mean that's kind of.
Did you say that the right miss you mentioned? Is it that where it kind of starts sort of online and then just gradually?
I mean that's my. And
makes its way further away from target.
Yeah, and if I sort of, you know, if I Freddy couples it and sort of aim left, and I probably will be fine. But I just that's not how I think about it. I need to, you know. I get out and probably. Well, I'm foolishly doing all the comps, which.
It could be good for match play.
It's been a bit of a mistake, but yeah, I get out probably once a week.
Okay.
Maybe a bit more if you know, probably once a week. Yeah.
Yeah.
You see those two right in the middle, so they felt fine.
Yeah.
I mean, it feels heavy.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah, it is. You say strike-wise is good. You know, quality contact's good. Okay, I'll just do one more just to get a good base average. But the thing is, it's one of those things where you've still got loads of speed. Difference now being, I mean, we built those clubs. I'm trying to think how long ago we built those clubs, but we're X amount of years.
I came to you guys in 2000 and I think it was 6.
Cry. With that long ago.
For these, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It was when it was how you guys are sitting now was what it was like. It was a room about this size, and James was there building away, and it was like this.
Yeah. Pretty close to yeah. I think we might have had maybe maybe another half a bay's width.
Yeah, it wasn't as bad. It wasn't as tight.
Not far, not far off though.
It wasn't. It felt like this. Yeah. And there was none of kind of all this, perfect stuff. It was just like it was a mat. I mean, it
functional.
It was functional. Yeah. It was great.
Yeah.
Oh, see, there's the miss.
Yeah.
It's going to go way right.
I think what we're seeing here is you've still got loads of speed. It's not a speed thing. It's I think 2006. Well, that's 17 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's one where pathwise. Well, it all relates back to you said that they are just heavy. They're X1s. There's a lot of shaft weight there, and so what's happening is as you fire, you still accelerate quick and your hips fire fast. The club just gets left behind. So the only way in is out to in, and then what happens is right shoulder comes up.
Yeah.
Handle lifts, club face opens, and then that's the exaggerated one. But then the other one is don't go right, hands.
Yeah.
Whip it over.
That happens rarely, and to be honest, because obviously, you guys have built my woods and my 2-iron. Those are new, and they're much easier to hit. I find them. And sometimes if I go from hitting an iron to then one of them, or the wood or the 2-iron, I think because they're a bit. Maybe they come through a bit quicker. I can sometimes flip them.
Because you've got that compensation going with this one. So then, so what we can see there, strike point's great. Yeah, it's not a strike issue. The path's a little out to in and face is just hanging a little open. But as a result, it's then going into orbit and stalling and going off at a 7-iron flight, really.
You see, that's the thing, is that every time I hit a bad shot, I don't have the thing of going, oh, that was off the toe, it felt terrible. It always feels nice.
Yeah, the strikes. You're getting the right bit of the club face on the back of the ball, but you and the club are now out of sync. So you're having to fight it, and then it's reliant on hands to square the face, and that's just then recipe for disaster.
Exactly.
So, good news is it makes sense.
Cool.
It's always a good start.
At least there's no mystery. we're not here going, right, don't quite know what's gone wrong here.
But I think because your acceleration comes from it's a fast, it's sort of snap of the hip, so that anytime you get that weight separation, it gets there out of sync quick, and then there's no time to recover it. So if you just go ahead with it, then the face just stays open, it bleeds away, but then you just get bored of missing things right.
Yeah.
And
I played with an old coach friend of mine about a year ago, and I played quite well with him on a round because he had me feeling like I was sort of still facing over there when I was striking, which kind of helped because I guess it just sort of kept me there as opposed to there.
It kind of resequences a little bit, but then you're fighting actually where you generate your speed from. Yeah. So you're almost having to do that. Which if your sequencing was bad, then that would be okay, but it's not. So, but that's like I say, it's a simple fix from a timing point of view and the lever's point of view. So, so I will get. Are there any heads that you're interested in?
Yeah. Yeah, there are a couple. I'm one of those suckers who gets, if a player plays a club, I want to try them. So Brooksy, baby.
Okay, the Strixons.
The Strixons.
Yeah, great heads. Great heads.
And I mean, I really like these, my dad's ones, but they just they feel a bit sort of, they don't have much feel to them.
Yeah, and so this one, which is the sort of which is generation 19 X Pro, it's got the cup face to it, so it's got a little bit of a lighter, thinner face, a little bit of face tech. Yeah. And show the model so people see
also
it.
Dirty, sorry.
That's all right. We don't need to show that side of it. But so you've got a thinner face, which is lighter, which perimeter weights a bit more. The face is designed for a little bit of speed, so you get forgiveness. But that creates, and especially where you're coming from, one of the most beautifully made one piece, your single piece, solid piece of metal where all the feedback comes straight to your hands. On this one, it dissipates it. So you'll get because the weight's spread away from the strike point, you will get that little bit of a hollowness to it. And for where your ball strike is and things, you could start to get a little bit of inconsistency on spin and therefore a little bit of inconsistency on distance. So we don't need to go, the current models have tightened that up a little bit versus these ones over the last few years, but we don't necessarily have to go as far as that, but certainly the Strixon, I'll get the Strixon here because that's a really
and also the Mizuno's
really good start point.
I mean, I always defer to you, but if it's a case of just sort of swapping shafts out on those and trying that, then I'll do that as well. But because I love them, and I mean, if I do say goodbye to them today, I will frame them and put them on my on my wall because they're so beautiful. But yeah, I mean, Strixon's MP
2G3s.
I think that's the ones.
Yeah,
my
one
buddy
off
has.
for the blade.
Yeah.
I'll start with the Strixon because it's a good base point.
Cool.
Right. Let's go. Check one thing on an old spec sheet. Go back to 29 teen spec. Okay, cool. Grand. Let's get a couple of different options as a start point.
Cool. Also, I really like the this driver you built for me. So if anything with that brand is good, I mean that's a great driver.
They've got some updates on the T100, T150, T200 due imminently. We've got those.
Like sort of autumn time.
Well, in the next few weeks actually. So the embargo date's beginning of August, and if we use those heads, we can just release it on the 3rd of August.
Oh, do you have the heads?
Yeah.
Oh, you have the new ones?
We have them, yeah.
Oh, cool.
So we will. We're not allowed to.
Sort of
so the embargoes mean we can't talk outwardly about it until the 3rd of August. So that might just be.
So which ones are these? The ZX7?
This is ZX7, yeah. And where the Strixons have been very good is it hasn't got a. They've gained some ball speed without going to a fast face on the ZX7, but they do help to keep the spin down a little bit. And looking at where your ball flight spin is, we could do with just reducing the spin down a little bit. Some of that'll come from squaring the face up.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see where this one has a.
Apparently I read some stuff online about these. They have an interesting sole.
Yeah, so
the turf interaction is
designed to improve turf interaction. It definitely, the sole and the face tread, definitely that's where it keeps spin down. So you've got a little bit of a beveled front half that stops it digging on softer turf, particularly in the US and Asia. So that little mark you're looking at, that shows where there's a bit of tungsten in the toe.
Yeah, is that tungsten? Okay.
Yeah. But performance-wise, I mean, they've made great heads the last 3 or 4 models, and they're now only just really getting the recognition that they deserve, essentially.
Yeah, it looks nice. It looks really nice.
Okay, yeah, so it's definitely more out in front of you straight away.
Definitely more
Still
what?
a bit of a fade, but it's not got that. It's more out in front of you, so it's not dropping in behind. So as you fire your hips, it's not dropping in behind you quite as far.
Oh, see, that was a bad one.
Still a little open. Okay.
Are these all the balls I can use?
Yeah, these are all the same, the Pro VXs.
Okay. Yeah, that one, I just came through badly with that.
Stayed in posture better, that one squared up better. Yeah, and so then that's then back to, so path's a little out to him, but then you've got the face squared off more, and so just from a kind of shot point of view, if I were to take that one, you've then got 17 launch, 5.7 spin, instead of, let's take out the flary ones, right? I'm going to take those couple. On your averages, you're at.
Oh wow, yeah, it's a lot less. So are these my ones?
Yeah, so 19 launch and 6.3 spin, just under 18 launch, just under 5.8 on spin, and just the club longer. a little bit more speed, but proportionate ball speeds up a little bit as
I guess
well.
the loft of the two clubs will probably be
I
similar.
brought that back to be very similar. Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, that's a good start. I'll switch out into another shaft. So I want to find where we go a little light. So that's the same shaft we've got in the 2-iron.
Okay.
But that's a much more efficient flight.
I mean,
for one.
that shot would be great all day.
Yeah. Yeah. Where it's a bit lighter, and you can now get the club out there where the path's a bit left. You can get it starting left and fading back a little bit rather than starting.
When you
on
say I
line and
stayed better
drifting
in my
across.
posture, do you mean which part of the posture?
So what? As you came through, rather than it getting behind, then you've got to come out of it.
Yeah.
You're able to stay with it and get the head through
Is that
there,
so?
rather than.
There's that bit early extension.
Some of it's probably a bit of what you've had to do with the heavier shafts. You have to go through it because the problem is if you stayed in posturing, it's late. You're going to bottom out there, so you've kind of got to pull out of it with a heavier weight rather than being able to just rotate onto it and turn and collect the ball and stay in shape. So a little bit of that right shoulder coming up is just generally a bit of a reaction to having to force the weight through a little bit. But what it'll let you do.
When you say coming up, do you mean like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Some of it is so to get the club going when it's heavy from back there, to get the club going that way, you've got to go that way a bit or just come out of it to fetch the club through. So rather than being able to just rotate and collect it, that's then when you can start to free your arms up and let the club go rather than having to kind of drag the club onto impact.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so that's a slightly different shaft.
Thank you.
So going to one of the Modus shafts, the 120, but in the EX. So it's just a few grams lighter than the Project X. So the Project X is about 6-7 grams lighter than your X1s, and this is another 6 grams lighter. Interesting. Okay.
Turn that over. Yeah.
So quite feasibly, watch a couple more. Quite feasibly, where we've gone that bit lighter again. So we're now about 10% lighter than your dynamic golds.
Okay.
So about 12-13 grams lighter, which is quite a lot. Yeah, so that one, you're getting halfway down, it's just not there for you. So it's not taking you to the bottom of the ball. So
it doesn't feel as
it
didn't feel it didn't feel as good as the one you just gave me.
Yeah, so strike wise, that's then thrown. First one was a little high, that one's a little heel. Going to the other one, Project X shaft there, tighter strike pattern, then that's just started to lose the contact. So you're not able to use the weight to swing the club, it's kind of just lost.
Yeah.
And that's really why light tends to go all over the place, because you lose. So we need a certain amount of weight to build the speed, but the clubs drop into plane. So too heavy, it then drops out of plane the other way. Whereas light, you kind of, as you put the power on, you lose the club, so you then have to back off it, and then.
Yeah, no, I found myself with the 2-iron you built. I found myself, sort of if it's 200. And I've been looking at my 4-iron or my 2-iron. I'm kind of going, I'll just choke off on my 2-iron.
Should be 2-iron.
Yeah, and it's a lot more. It's a lot easier.
Yeah. Let's take that shaft weight back up a little bit.
Do those balls with the thing inside make a difference?
Just much more consistent reading of spin. So they don't last quite as long as a result. But
why is that? Is the cover just not?
There's a layer underneath the cover. There's a sort of a Y-shaped metallic layer. Metallic kind of.
Oh, is that supposed to make it more receptive to the?
It gives the TrackMan more to measure the spin off, and it has made a big difference. I'm sure it'll eventually get incorporated into other balls, other than probably Callaway, because Callaway own a top tracer, so they own the technology they could use. But I'd imagine it wouldn't be too long before, or at some point, it'll go into other brands. Okay.
So what's happening here?
So just going into a different shaft again, going back to back up in weight, so back up over 120 grams.
Thank you.
But it's a little bit of a different balance point. So certainly it'll be interesting once we've tested a couple of others to go back into that Project X. So we know from previous times it worked in the 2-iron.
Yeah.
Okay,
Bit right.
a little bit.
That felt quite nice though.
You can certainly see with that bit of weight, it straight the strike's better again, going back
Yeah.
heavier. Yeah, I don't think it's taking you through the ball though. So it's a little bit, it's not counterbalance, but it's a slightly higher balance point, and then it has that little bit of kind of steer through rather than the weight taking you through. So once you've got a couple of swings with the Project X, you can see it start to,
Yeah.
you can freewheel it a little bit. That one's is a little
It
bit
felt. I
steery,
liked it. It
so-
felt nice though. What shaft is that?
It's an Oban, it's the CT125.
Okay. I don't
So
know. Yeah, but
They're
it felt good.
Japanese made.
Yeah.
They're a really consistent shaft from a structural point of view. Quite a smooth feel actually. Whereas the Project X will feel a little bit firmer. That one's got a little bit more response to it just due to the way it's manufactured. The Project X is a little bit stiffer through that section, so it's going to feel slightly tighter.
And what's the difference? Before coming here, I was looking at eBay, and there was a set of the Strixons, but with LZ.
So the LZ stands for loading zone.
Okay.
So they've got more. It narrows slightly quicker in that section. So the quicker it narrows, the more the shaft is likely to bend and load in that point.
Okay.
So the wider it stays, the stiffer it stays. So this one stays. The standard Project X stays quite wide as a shaft down to here and then narrows. So there's a lot of rigidity there. So the LZ narrows a little bit quicker. It's a little bit softer profile for slightly higher flight in theory. But it also swings more tip heavy as well. So
you'll feel a bit more weight in there.
yeah, and my concern with that would be then the bottom end starts to get stuck behind. That's actually where historically the dynamic golds have been okay, because whilst they're heavy, they're not tip heavy. They're very neutral weight.
Yeah, I like
all the
them.
way
It's
through.
just that they just feel heavy.
It's just now the dead weight's a little bit strong.
Yeah, exactly.
And even the standard Project X isn't massively tip heavy. It's very stable, but it's not tip heavy in the way it swings. And similarly, that Oban's not a tip heavy shaft, but it's probably slightly too back weighted. So you don't get the mass in the bottom kind of catapulting you through. So the way you get the best release pattern is that the weight in the bottom end allows you to get that little bit of a lag and drop in behind. And then if you free up that acceleration, the momentum of the club head takes you through the shot.
Yeah.
Then there's that freedom to the swing that starts the consistency of flight. It's like throwing a ball. You don't want to be stiff-wristed kind of throwing something, then you lose the flow.
Yeah, you need
it's
that.
about getting that flow through, and the mass of the club can help achieve that.
Yeah.
Rather than having to either force it, which you're having to do with your current ones, or steer at it and kind of stall on it to keep the face control.
Yeah.
So the better we get the mass, the more it allows you just to turn, collect it, rather than pull, heave, fetch, flip.
Yeah.
Or kind of get over the top, overpower it, come out of it, steer it. So that's the bit that also lets you stay more balanced in your setup, stay in posture more, and just rotate and freewheel. And so hence that one, when I said staying in posture, that the better you stay in posture, the club stays on plane more, the face stays on line more. So if you change plane, the face starts to go all over the place. So it's all those sort of knock on. That's if you wanted to.
I could talk for hours about it. Yeah, I know what you mean.
A lot of it is levers.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really, a lot of it is that. So let's go. Let me go back to that Project X. Because there are a few other shafts in that kind of weight, like the Dynamic Gold do a 120, but that's really bottom end weighted. And so where you have that kind of snap of speed, that fast acceleration, that then leaves the bottom end behind. And so the more we load up the bottom end, the later it gets, and then the more likely to spin out right again it is. So.
And what about length? Because I think before they've been a bit longer.
Yeah, this one's about an eighth shorter, but I'll kind of get the shaft in the head, and then I can test out the lengths and the balances. And But I think standard length has got longer over the years.
Oh, has it?
Because
Is that because of distance? Not really.
some of it is that, I mean, I used to be tallish at 6 foot and I'm very average now. Some of it's where they're using lighter shafts, they can go a bit longer.
Oh, yeah.
It's a combination of both of those elements, really.
Oh, I turned that one over. Big time.
Okay. Okay, I'll watch one more of that. Certainly in terms of the flight wise and the ball speed efficiency, it's definitely better, but we'll have there'll certainly be some small changes we can make. Yeah, so that one looked like you had a bit more time. So club speed's still the same.
Yeah.
That one looked like you weren't almost rushing to get to impact.
Yeah.
I think some of what will happen with your current ones, if you don't go for it and kind of heave at it, then there's no chance the club's going to come through. Whereas that one actually looked like you could just collect it rather than throw yourself at it. So, and then that's one where you've then got really great efficiency. So the smash on that one, 140, so that's perfect for the 6 iron. Slightly stronger launch because you've then covered it a little bit more, and so rather than kind of having to jump at it and coming out of posture, you can see you just dropped and let go. So you stayed on top of it. So launch
it felt a
came
bit like
down
that.
bit.
Actually, it felt a bit like it sort of dropped.
And then relative to where your speed is at 94 mile an hour club speed, 194 carry distance is actually pretty representative. So that's then just a more efficient move. It's not faster than some of the others. Actually, one of the earlier ones was a little bit faster by 0.2 of mile an hour club speed, but you picked up another couple of miles an hour ball speed because it was just a more efficient move.
Cool.
So, and that's where some of that you can relax with the swing a little bit more and time it, not back off it, but kind of swing at it rather than having a burst of blood vessel. So, but that looked a really stable move because it didn't look like you were having to kind of say thrash at it to get the club through.
Yeah, it felt it felt as you described. Yeah. Should I do more, or
I'll probably watch one or two because I think there's a little bit of some of it's going to be getting out of the feeling of having to really throw yourself at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, those last 2 swings in particular have been so much better connected through the ball. So that had a little bit of fade, but actually in terms of the sequencing and how connected you and the club, well, that's just a bit of a path thing. So
I quite like that shot. I mean, I could
it's
play
very
that
controlled.
all day,
Yeah. I mean, it's only looking at 7-8 yards right. So it's just over the width of the bay right, which from 190 yards out, 20 foot's pretty good. So,
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to put this one back. I'm just going to check a couple of other options to double check with. But that's certainly in a good area, definitely.
Can I swing while you're?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that was right.
Yeah, and some of that one's where as you swing down, that kind of happens, that kind of just come out of posture a bit and the face opens up. It's actually the delivery line's the same.
Is it?
So that may be where I'll check this one out and then I'll get a slightly longer shaft to see whether that just helps stay in posture a little bit more.
Okay.
But again, strike-wise, as we can show on the heat map here, with that Project X, we're back in a great place.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's got a slightly bigger grip on. What I'll do is I'll pop. This one's got a mid-size from somebody who's used it before. I'm just going to swap to a normal size grip onto this one.
Can I have a feel of that? Mid-sized grip. Oh yeah, that is quite large. Yeah.
Is that, yes, please do stop it back.
Yeah. If it wasn't for that one left, I mean, I would be reasonably. That would look better than it does.
Yeah, and some of it is just you can't understate it how good we are at compensating things. So a lot of what you're having to do with your current ones to make them work, it's just undoing some of that, what people call muscle memory, the habits that you've formed, the patterns that you've established to try and force a result out of them. Actually, the hard bit's going to be, hard bit's multitasking for me, that's for sure. The hard bit's actually almost, because you can just free it up, it kind of helps to declutter some of that bits, but the hands and things like doing things. So it's kind of getting into big muscles of turn and let everything else happen.
Yeah.
So it's sort of say undoing some of those compensations.
That's what Nick Faldo was saying on the Open.
Okay.
He was saying that when he they asked him how he was so good under pressure, and he just said, "I just thought of the big muscles. Just get the big muscles doing the work and not the little, you know." Which is actually quite helpful. To think about.
So the problem is small muscles like getting involved. Like handlings like being active, but all they do is screw things up. You know, if I do my job right, then the club and you are going to work more in sync. So they don't. Hands will only do whatever they've got to put the club on the back of the ball. So if something's wrong, then they'll make it work.
Yeah.
But they're kind of the small muscles firing are bad for consistency. So ultimately, we want you to just be able to go turn. Connect.
But in that theory, Bryson is onto something. It's just like this, and then that.
But it also works for for what he did with his musculature and when packed on the muscle. Because it's on a single plane, he's only moving the club through one line, so he could put power into that swing. Whereas if you try and put power into, who was the one that, Rory. If he said, right, must try and do that. But his swing has more of that kind of, he's got that drop and rotation. You put power into that, then that way, whereas Bryson putting power into that way, that's why that one worked. So it kind of shows where Rory's got a lot of power, but he's speed-based. Whereas Bryson was brute strength in that instance, so that one plane can work for that.
I didn't see how he did yesterday, Bryson.
No, I'm not sure.
I didn't see.
Not sure. There was a hell of a second up and down from Rory.
Yeah, that was.
On 18. That is interesting. That might mentally, I think that'd be huge.
Yeah. It will.
So this one's potentially kind of 1 or 2 grams stronger than Project X, but a similar.
That felt
kind
quite
of
nice.
Balance. So this one's the Modus
that felt nice.
130.
Like there.
And this one's the Modus 130 that's actually in the stiff. This one is the 124 gram, 125. So.
That also felt good.
Yeah, and that one swing-wise looked what I call quieter. So, which means just less going on. So it looked like you stayed in posture better and you're just able just to turn and collect it. And then the face 0.9 of a degree open rather than 3, 4, 5 degrees open. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do I hit another one?
I see one more would be great, yeah.
That was right. A bit spinny outy, that one.
Yeah. Not massively though.
But yeah,
so
better
face
than
the target, still 1 degree closed, but path got a bit more out to him.
I quite like these ones.
What'll be interesting to see with that one is just if there are some go-to, so if you're in between clubs, if you've got a go-to shot that you like to play, just play a couple of different shots.
I just generally choke up and just do a sort of like further back in the stance, sort of low fade.
See one of those.
Try that. In theory, that's
not that I'm asking.
In theory, that's what it does, but it doesn't always do that.
As long as you picture it first, then yeah.
Okay, here we go. I'll try and do my little.
Because this also shows me how
That's probably
able
a bit
to
right.
maneuver it you are.
Oh, no, that's fine. Yeah, that's good.
Kind of the non-stock swings.
That's exactly what I pictured.
Cool. Okay, let's see.
Miraculously.
Either one more of these, or if there's another shot that you like So I've always sort of gone to a little knockdown, punchy shot. So if there are things that you like to play on course that you play
Well, that
regularly,
was my knockdown punchy shot.
No. But so if there was another one that you'd play, or if not, just another one of those would be great because that still helps me see.
Let me see if
see how it moves.
Yeah, am I just trying to do anything low if in doubt?
Okay, cool.
Yeah, just keep it low if in doubt.
Okay.
That felt good too.
So then what I'm going to do, I'm going to switch over to back to the Project X and just see.
I quite like those ones.
Couple of normal swings and then those two as well. And those two are both within a yard of one another.
Yeah, no, that club
really repeating.
In all shots felt like it was
literally kind of action replays.
Yeah,
which is great. So okay. So very similar base weight. So it says 130 on it, but it's actually 124.
Oh, I'm just looking at this bit. Yeah. NS Pro Modus.
Yeah, the Modus is. Okay, and then that one's.
So when I do that sort of little choppier shot, I'm taking 8 yards off it. That's interesting.
Yeah, or actually slightly more. I'm certainly a good club.
Could you guys do a thing here where you can come in and do your yardages? I saw on the website.
Yeah, we do the gappings. Yeah.
I think I should probably do that because I don't actually really know.
Oh, so few golfers really know what they hit.
Yeah.
They know what they hit this time of year with a bit of bounce out and where the ball finishes.
Yeah.
But most haven't got a clue how far they carry it.
Yeah. So am I doing the same thing with this?
Just do a couple of standard shots just to reacclimatise to this club, and then a couple of those feedy ones would be great. Pretty good. Again, I don't mind seeing that as a vertical as miss because you've squared the face up, so it's not like anything untoward's happened.
Yeah.
Okay. A little bit spin up, but not a lot. Okay. And then just that knockdown one.
So the little knockdown one, okay. Oh, I came out of that one.
We'll do one more, just of that shot, but interestingly, I think there's a little more control with the other shaft. You see, you then go and do that, don't you? You know, I think there's still a little bit more control with the other shaft, actually. That one, the path has gone a little more exaggerated. Yeah, so a little more exaggerated to hit the same shot. So 4 or 5 on the face to path versus 6.5. So yeah, it's got you, when you drop down with that one, it's got you a little bit more down across an open face. So actually that then brings in potentially a bit more variability in terms of flight. And that's where that first one, it didn't quite come with, so you've had to then just get over the top of it a little bit more. And it's whether if I go back to the Modus, whether that just feels a little more comfortable. I mean, they're really, weight-wise, very similar.
Yeah.
Very slight different balance points in them. The Modus is designed around, this one's very stable through the kind of the mid-upper half, and there's slightly more tip response.
Okay.
Slightly, but this has been a shaft that Garcia, Casey have used. So it's not exactly not a stable
Decent
shaft. But it's probably just a little bit less tip bounce than the Project X. Yeah, that moves just slightly. It's marginal. Just looks a little
really
bit easier
good
to move.
Might be a bit right, but it still felt quite nice.
Yeah, that's more path. So it's going right because path got out to it. So actually face to target again is 1 degree left. It's just path got a bit more across the line.
Okay. I'm just going to try doing where I really feel like I'm sort of swinging out like that.
just a fraction of mat and ball, but you squared off the path ball and face to path 1.5 degrees, and so that's letting you just manoeuvre your swing a little more to control the shot shape rather than having to drag at it and having to get out to in with it. So
this feels a bit more like an extension of kind of. I feel feels really quite connected to it.
Yeah. So and it looks that way as well. So that one was a slight miss. That's still best part of 180 carry.
Yeah, no, oh, the ball just moved.
Yeah, that looks like you're not having to fight to square the face up.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. That's a shaft.
Really nice.
I'll get the longer length, but I'll also get the Mizuno head because I can look at the weighting a little bit more easily with that one as well. So this basically within a gram or so of the Project X from a base weight point of view, just slightly different balance point, really.
I'm going to try and hit a draw, see what happens here.
Nuked. God, look at that. So all that's happened is you've just overdrawn it a little bit, but then you've got your path into out and squared the face up. So because you and the club are now working as a team,
it feels really good.
You can control where the path goes, and then you don't have to work the face as hard, because if you move, for you it's more about path than, it might sound an odd comment, it's more about path than face. You get the face back to target well, it's just how far left or right you move the path as to what shot shape you get. So there are some players that are much more about what they do with the face. For you, your club face control is good, it's just not getting the path tier out to in, but some of that is, or a good chunk of that is, because if you don't kind of fetch it over and get out to in on it, the club's hitting the deck. So that's just where you've realigned your plane a little bit to make sure you get ball first. But going to that's going to mean you can start to tell the club where it's got to go rather than the club telling you how you've got to do it, in essence.
It did feel like that. It did feel a bit like kind of wizardry. Kind of just being, connected, as I said earlier.
And that's also the bit where we were saying earlier about being able to stay in posture. You're now able to stay balanced and just move the club where you want to, which then means you're not having to heave at it. The right shoulder doesn't have to come up, so you can just start to drop and collect. And then by going for the draw, you've then upped your speed by another couple of miles an hour. So you can choose to give it a little bit more and just turn faster.
Are these distances accurate?
Yep.
Christ.
But that also shows how inefficient those have become, because you're having to work across and open the face.
If I went out on a golf course and had those carry distances, I'd be getting my lob wedge out a lot, because I'd be long. I wouldn't. I mean, I'd be expecting 180 with my 6-iron.
And that's not an exceptional set of numbers in terms of, okay, there's a lot of speed. You generate a lot of speed, but if you take all the others, the smash factor 138, that's good, but we've had 140, and there's still another couple of miles an hour quality of strike wise to gain. The launch and the spin are in a good window, so it's not like it's a 4-2 on spin and then you've got a 5-iron ball flight out of a 6-iron. That's a proper 6-iron trajectory. So let's check the loft lie on this. So it's not a kind of a cheated distance. It's just because you can now start to put
basically what you're saying is I didn't thin it over the back.
And so you can start to put in. You can start to move more efficiently, generate a bit more speed.
Yeah, that's exactly what this
but it's generating speed rather than having to hit at it.
Yeah, exactly.
So this one's a little bit longer.
So this
but I've
is
also
the same
put it
club?
into the Mizuno.
No, Mizuno.
Because that one, because they make the lighter head, I can control the balance on that a little bit more. The Strixon, potentially, I think the Strixon from a spin and a flight point of view is good. It's what length we can achieve with it.
So this is, sorry,
this
one's
a little longer. This one's a 38 inch, so it's a half-inch over standard.
And this is?
The 223 Mizuno.
Okay, thank you.
Sometimes I might need to do a little bit of fiddling around with the head weight just to get it matching exactly. Posturally, I like the longer length. Just change the balance on it a little bit.
Yeah, this feels quite significantly different, but that was not bad. Didn't feel like that.
Change that a little. So yeah, posturally the slightly longer length looks, especially now you're having to bend down and pick up a child regularly, that should just look a slightly more comfortable posture, just not having to just reach for it.
Thank you.
Okay.
So did you do anything with now?
Just change the balance a little bit. Change the head weight very slightly.
Oh, that was a bit, that was toey. That's going to be left, I think.
Yeah, it looks slightly harder work. So because that one's got a little bit of face tech, it's got the slightly higher pitched note out of it.
So what does that mean?
So just sound-wise,
oh right,
because the Mizuno from the 7-iron up with that head, they start using the face a little bit just to make sure continued improvement on ball speed.
Okay.
So it's got a slightly different note off of it as a result of that.
that was a good one.
Yeah. Okay, so a little bit more flight. What I'd expect out of that, which is a little bit more flight. The Strixon head's good for bringing the top of the flight down a little bit. So we can turn the loft down a bit to achieve the same kind of ball flight, but the Strixon head naturally just brings the top down a little bit, which suits. I mean, even if we went to the Pro V1, it would drop the spin a little bit, and the launch a little bit, but the Strixon head helps do that as well. And because of your speed, you generate a reasonable bit of height. So we're not looking for the club to help it in the air anymore. So let's see. Otherwise, numbers are pretty good from an efficiency. So the previous one that went a little bit left just brought that launch and spin down a bit, but I don't really want that to, you'd have to pull it to get it there.
Yeah.
But we could de-loft that a little bit to achieve the same. Let's just see. Head-wise. I'm going to get one head. I'll see what they've got out here. If not, I'll grab one from the workshop. So that's the Strixon one. There's a contact there. Yeah, so that one's still slightly higher up the blade, but it hasn't dropped anywhere near as much ball speed.
Yeah.
So
why am I doing that? Is that just because of my angle?
Well, that one where the face opened up a little bit,
okay.
That can get it, depending on how you open the face, because you're not massively steep onto it, a couple of degrees down. The face opens, it just moves the strike point up the blade a little bit. Yeah, and then there, that's then better ball speed, squared off better. Yeah, so if we
this setup feels really good.
If we go too forgiving, the problem is that the weight's in the wrong place for you.
Yeah.
So it's sort of what I've found is that because I've always hit it a bit hard with the blade, always been on top of it, you move the mass to the bottom, and sometimes you lose a bit of feel because there isn't that guts to the contact, but it actually ends up losing your ball speed. So yeah. You see, that one feels the most comfortable of them.
It just feels really good. Yeah, it feels like a nice kind of combination of through the ball. I feel like it's working with me. I'm not fighting it, and it's trying to help me as I come through it and everything.
Got it. Yeah. Yeah, and again, that one you back up, and both of those, one went a little bit right, but then that one's then back to 3 foot right, which I think we can forgive.
Yeah, I will take that.
but a little bit more slow. And naturally the head brings the spin down a little bit. It'll be interesting to see. I'm going to swap to the Pro V1 just to see where that brings ball flight too, because if we don't have to heavily de-loft and can just get that flight just in a slightly stronger window, and especially if you're not kind of, for want of a better phrase, sort of precious about one or other ball.
No, I actually bought some Pro V1s the other day just to try them out, and yeah. That was pretty, not a good shot.
Yeah.
That's still not bad though.
Just got a little bit more picked up and got a little bit more out to in on that one, a little cross.
Yeah.
Let's see one more. Spin does look down a little bit, but I'll just see one that's squared off a little bit more, just to really truly judge on it.
Oh, that was, let me try one more, sorry. not delivering.
Where's the stripe there? Yeah, a little toey, that was all.
Oh, come on. I can't hit the ball.
Just allergic to Pro V1s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, one more go, come on. I think that's left.
Got contact, but I'm interested to see where that spin goes to. Yes, there's still a hint of face. So paths out to in, but face to paths the same as the good ones earlier on.
Yeah.
And spins at sort of, I think it depends a bit on what flight window you want to see it in.
Yeah.
So
I actually quite like that.
the slightly stronger flight,
Yeah.
the Pro V1 will naturally just bring the launch and the spin down another half a degree on launch, but a couple of hundred revs on spin. So, and at your kind of speed, you're going to get height anyway. So that one's up at 117 feet because you just got a lot of speed.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of ball speed, so it's going to peak high. So actually just bringing that down a little bit, ball-wise as well as, and that's where the Strixon head works well for you because it naturally drops the launch and the spin a fraction.
Yeah.
Over other heads. So we're not going to have to force loft really low and then find we get bunching at one bit of the bag and then loads of gaps at the bottom. We don't have to push loft too far in order to get the flight where we want to. So, you know, the Pro V1 and the mixture of that head and the Pro V1 will drop probably about 500-600 revs over another club head in the Pro V1X.
Yeah.
So quite a big difference. So it's naturally just going to drop the top of the flight down a little bit more.
Okay.
So a little bit more stability to trajectory. Let me check. I'm just going to have a look at the lie with this as well. Just to, I can just put a line on the ball with this. But that's where, so the Strixon heads are pretty interesting because without using a kind of floating face, a faster face, without doing anything really weird to lofts, they've managed to drop spin, and this has been again the last 3 or 4 models, by about 300-400 revolutions over other brands.
Wow.
Which if you're a higher speed or a higher spin player, so take something like Kepka, gives it an absolute smash. There are other heads that are going to flare the spin up a little bit more. So rather than having to just de-loft the club, those heads naturally bring that spin down. It's coming out of it a little bit. Yeah, let's see that mark on the face. So yeah, so lie-wise, I think that's dead square up the face. I'll stick that on. So again, what we're looking for there. I'll do one more just to cross-reference, but swing-wise, just that draw swing that you put on it.
Yeah, do one of them.
Just do one of those because that'll just neutralise your path down a bit.
Sure.
It's just starting to get a little out to in. See whether that changes that mark.
Should I? Oh, you got rid of that one.
Okay. Yeah, I think what was happening was you were getting a little bit more glancing across it, and that's where some of the
with that one
was dropping.
too.
That one, no, that one was 1.5 on path, and then got the face 1 degree closed. So that's That's what the pros call a draw, about kind of 8 foot's worth of draw. So actually, so going to the draw, it's just put that's just slightly toe down. So we just bring that half degree up, minimal, because when you work it more inside, then that just naturally flattens the layout a little. If you're more out to in, requires a bit more upright, but that's just a little bit toe down. So we just move it a fraction, especially where for you, I'll show that camera. For you, we don't really want to. I don't particularly want to influence shot pattern with lie. We're not, because if you can get it back to more neutral, we don't need to protect against a certain shot type. Whereas if someone hits a pronounced fade or a pronounced draw, you can use the lie to gear against the shot shape a little bit. But you don't need to do that. So, but just bring that up a fraction. Okay.
How wide is that fairway?
Good point. I can give you an exact. Let's take, 8 foot curve. There we go.
So the 8 foot curve means 8 foot.
So that
left
shot had
or
8 foot of draw on it. That last shot. So this one here, you've got so that outer line's 15 yards. So that's 30 yards.
So it's 30 yards
right
wide.
there.
So either side of
So
the pit,
little,
side of the line is 15 yards.
So so those are 5 yards, and that's 15 yards.
Okay, cool.
So that one started a hair left and then only drew 8 feet. So a straight shot's going to finish pretty much 5-6 yards left, 15, 18 feet left.
Okay.
So tolerable.
Yeah.
So that one lie-wise, so pretty much bang on standard lie, 61 degrees. So I mean, standards changed over the time.
Yeah,
that's what I would call standard
not
lie.
Being.
But a lot of the lies now are at sort of 62, 62 and a half, just to protect against the left to right. But yeah, certainly as a combination, it depends on the feel side of things. The Mizunos will work as well, but these ones from a trajectory point of view are just going to drop that trajectory down a little bit more.
Yeah, which I often try and, I like to see that, and I do that anyway if in doubt. If I feel a bit weird on the course, I'll just try and keep it low, so I'm happy that it does that for me.
Yeah, so you're not going to have to force the flight there as much with these as you will with other clubs.
Shall I hit another one?
Yeah. Yeah, I want to do one more, just as do one more with that slight draw.
Slight draw,
feel.
okay.
Yeah, that's getting you on a better line through the ball.
Yeah.
Well, 0.2, you can play from there. Yeah, it's interesting what it's. So that one you just shallowed angle of attack a little bit, so it's a bit higher launch but a bit lower spin. So where you're out to in, you're getting a little more down on it and starting it lower and spinning it more. That one you've just, so we'd probably look for you to just get down on it a little bit more, but then you've got path and face to path 0.2 and 0.5.
Yeah.
So that feels squared off your swing lines.
Okay.
And yeah, that's got 6 foot of curve and is 12 foot away at the end. So,
nice.
Yeah.
I'll sell that for some money on Sunday down the 18th.
So with those, I think the head shaft combo makes sense. We're still losing kind of 6-7 grams over your current shafts without changing the balance profile very much at all. We're going to a head that's got enough change. So 50% of the forgiveness is going to come from the shaft and allow you to time it, you to stay more stable, which allows you to put the middle of the face on the ball more consistently, and control your shot pattern, because you can now control where the club goes. There's that bit of perimeter weighting from the head that, again, just gives a bit more margin of error over a pure blade.
Yeah.
Those two combined just mean it allows you to consistently deliver the face a little bit more.
Yeah,
control
definitely felt like that.
Salvage job it. So
I like this. The whole setup of this looks really nice.
And those heads, you can take from. I wouldn't see the need unless you particularly had to play a blade in the short iron. Those are blade-like enough.
Yeah, no, I'm
just have that continuity all the way through. So why you don't really see the tour guys switch. Some will play like a 9-iron pitch wedge in the Z forged, or they'll just play the Z forged all the way through, and then something like that, or ZX5 in a 4-iron, 3-iron.
No, these feel.
But there's more than enough back from those to give
Yeah,
you
yeah. I
plenty all the way
don't need
through.
anything more. I'd rather the little help because the feel's still there.
So irons-wise, we'd creep the lengths just a touch longer. I think it's a case of getting them as long as we can whilst keeping balance in check. So realistically, where these are that sort of fraction of an inch longer, we can achieve that same length.
Okay.
With these. I think I'd rather not push them longer still and make sure we keep them swinging correctly and timing correctly, than try to push a little bit extra length and then throw the balance and the way they move off.
To be perfectly honest, sometimes when I'm not playing well, because I know my clubs are a bit longer, sometimes I'll find myself choking up. Just to be a bit more, feel more control. Just a bit more in control. Yeah. So whatever
I think we'd match the length to these. Yeah, okay. I think that length is absolutely fine. We can still give that a little bit more of a kind of standard, but we don't need to go any longer. Okay.
Did you have these? So can I have a look at the 4-iron?
I'll check. I should have one. I'll see if I've got one in the workshop for you. I knew we'd got one somewhere.
I just hit an absolute terrible one with my club.
Should feel quite hard work now.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it's interesting going back to it. You can see where your body's through impact and the club's coming afterwards. So we're down at 131 efficiency. So good lines, 131 efficiency, 500-600 revs more spin, about 20 yards less.
Yeah. Wow. That's quite a lot, isn't it?
Mm. Lots of effort for little reward, I think is the... I'll slide one of these just so you can see it on the end. So
just because I imagine I'd go pitch through 4, wouldn't I?
Yeah, I'd imagine. So that's, in terms of relative to the 6, I'll put it down next to the 6 iron there. So maintains the shape.
Oh yeah, that looks great.
Yeah. So that's where potentially just having that little bit of a top line in the 4-iron in the blade. Yeah, there's just not a lot of it. So,
no, I don't really mind. It's not really. Yeah, it's not really. It doesn't visually. It's a bit sort of like I better hit a good one.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's one of those things where I think visually it's really important, though, isn't it? When you're a bit nervous.
You've got to stand over it and look forward to hitting them. Yeah, you don't want to stand over and go, Jesus Christ, I've got to get this right.
Yeah.
Or God, they're ugly. It's because then there's just another conversation going on in the back of your head.
Yeah.
So if you're setting up over the ball, just looking forward to hitting it, or they're just not thinking about the head at all, then you're just focused on the shot. And that's definitely by far the better way to be.
Yeah. And then with my wedges, which I really like the ones you made.
Yeah.
I really like my gap wedge has been my best club this year by a long way.
When you get
will I do the same shafts?
Not necessarily. I mean, I think with the wedges, we'll often go a little bit heavier. So actually, would it be good? I'll move this forward. I'll watch a couple of swings with that because it's not so much of a distant swing.
They feel a bit heavy, to be honest.
Okay.
I wouldn't mind if you wanted to.
Okay. Well, I'll watch a couple with it, and then we can kind of gauge off of that. I'll just realign this.
What shall I hit off? This?
Yes, thanks, yeah. Do you want me to switch the light on, James? So just waiting for this to... Okay. Yeah, so if you play kind of at the target line, that'll be perfect. Great. Yeah, it's definitely less pronounced than the 6-iron. Much less pronounced than the 6-iron.
What the kind of help?
Stuck on. But then that's because it's shorter club. It's going to come with you a little bit more easily.
Yeah.
It's less tap to fetch. The longer it gets, the more exaggerated it's going to get. So. Okay, and just a little knockdown.
A little knockdown?
Yeah, so if you had like a 100, 105, just wanted to quieten off the spin a little bit.
I think I do most of that just by choking up, but I'll try.
Okay. Yeah, it wouldn't be something. God, I got 106 spinning back to 105. God,
Was that good?
Legend status.
Was that 105?
Ended up at 105.2. So technically, well, yeah, still whatever. Yeah, that's great. So it's not something that I would be saying I think you must change. I think there's. Just go down to like a little half shot. Or actually, get one of the other wedges and go down to a little half shot.
Yeah, this club, I've never had a gap wedge until you guys put me in one.
That was that one, yeah.
And I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, and because of the distance you hit it, you're going to come across those sort of 105 to 120 yard shots quite a lot.
Yeah.
So this one this is just playing a real kind of little half shot. So probably.
So when I start getting down to these ones,
Yeah.
the 50, well, this is a 55 that you bent
Yeah.
50 to 55, and the 60, I get a bit nervous about going anything above 85%.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I tend to just sort of always, just try and knock these down.
Yeah.
But
Perfect. Yeah. Just see the little half shot. So probably on this one like a 75, 80 yard shot.
okay, I don't want to ruin my my performance of last time, but here we go. Oh, that was a bad shot.
Okay. Still 185, but
That's good.
yeah, interesting. Okay, let me just check one thing between them. It does look a little bit more of an effort than the 50. This
What was that?
could
80,
be a little bit. That was 89.
89, yeah. Bunker.
Just the 4 yards long. Let's just make sure there's nothing. Okay, there's nothing particularly different. It's whether slightly different pickup. This is where you get fractional tolerances in shaft balance point. It's
That 50 feels like it's one of those things where it's just it's like the perfect outcome.
yeah. They're very fractional. Interesting enough, so the dead weight with them is absolutely identical.
Yeah.
Literally the same within half a gram. You do get slight tolerances in structures of them. This one actually feels slightly heavier in the handle.
Which one?
The 56. Actually, both of. Yeah, the 56 of any of them. What's wrong with the 60? Does feel almost like a slightly heavier under the hands.
Okay.
That's potentially just a little tolerance in the balance point in the shaft. Just the natural tolerances, build to build.
And this one, I mean, I played the other day with my friend, and he also, but he is a good golfer. And
I like that golfer's caveat. So I nearly said I was good. Jesus.
yeah, I know.
Don't do it.
And he, like the same as, the 60. Sometimes if you try and hit it 100%, I don't know what happens, but it goes like 50 yards right, just high and.
Yeah, and I think the 60s, that kind of higher loft. It's because of having the structure of the other wedges. It's not one that. And I used to, when I played 52 and 58, I used to hit a lot of full 58s and then real knockdown 52s. And now I'll occasionally.
What are you on now? 52, 58 still?
I go 50, 55, 60 as well. And it's one where I'll rarely hit it. Okay, if you've got a tight pin or I've got to literally stick it up my nostril, I'll play a fuller shot with it. But I really don't. Even with the 50, okay, probably 56, I'll play some fuller ones. But the 60, I just don't very often at all.
Weirdly, and this is kind of niche, but I went to Idaho and played some golf a few years back.
Yeah.
At altitude.
Okay.
And the 60 was quite useful there because I guess at the altitude it went further, so I found that I could commit to it a bit more and I trusted it a bit more. So what should I do with this one?
Just that's a little half one, probably like a 50, 60 yarder. Just looking at like the timing of this one.
Oh,
I don't know. It's just where the screen backs into it. It'll come down later on. 66. Okay. Let's just see. I'll just. I'll get it down in a moment. Swatch, and then
Shall I go a bit further forward?
and just a slightly shorter swing as well.
Okay, just a smaller one.
Just a little bit, yeah. Yeah, that one moved. There it goes.
There they are.
Yeah, if anything, I think what's worth doing is, well, I don't think you need to go lighter in them. I think we'll take a look at the 56. That one definitely, the pickup, I can feel the pickup's a little different, and that does look heavier than the others. Even though
Which one?
The 56.
Okay.
That moves better than the 56, and the 50 moves better than the 56. So we'll have a look at an alternative shaft on that, because that one I can see just moves a little bit differently. So even if we don't change...
Is there any way you can match the 50, just whatever?
Because essentially they are matching shafts, but this one sits outside where these two feel. So we'll switch a shaft out for that and just see. I think I've seen it plenty of times before, not necessarily with the dynamic gold wedge shafts, but quite often with some of the Project X's over the years, that you get one that's got a little bit of a very slight structural variance and tolerance where the balance point is a little bit different. They're making thousands of them a day, so that can happen, because this one definitely feels that there's more weight under the handle. Even though the dead weight's the same, the swing weight's progressed the same, it just means it picks up, it doesn't flow as well. And that one, you can see you can drop it and use the weight nicely. Same with the 50.
That one to 52 feels like that. It's
this
just
one just
gets in the slot and boom.
Doesn't quite look like it moves as well, so we can take
I actually don't really, I don't really like using that one too much for a bigger shot.
Okay, makes sense, definitely.
It's great to chip with though.
So I think there's not my gut feels there's not necessity to change weight. I think I would say let's do, obviously we'll look at the 56, but I would do the irons and see then how they feel relative to them, because then it's an easy one to switch a shaft out if we need to. But I wouldn't say you need to with them. It's, I think, see how the 9-iron pitch wedge feel and swing for the feedy shots and the knockdown ones, and then if you say no, those just feel more comfortable, then we can switch them down, match them into the irons. But the 50 and that look like they swing quite nicely to me.
Okay.
So I don't want to lose the control on the shorter swings. Certainly the Modus 130s would on a fuller shot would feel a little bit easier to get kind of full speed through, but I don't want to lose the control that you've got on the partial ones. Okay. So I think we can take that as a secondary call and go, right, see how the pitch and the 9 swing, and then we can take a judgment. But we'll work on the we'll switch shaft out on this just to see if we can match.
And then what about the 2-iron, which I'm in the Project X?
So the 2-iron I'd switch down to match the Modus. Oh, cool. Otherwise it's going to be a different feel.
So you'll put a Modus in, or just?
I think we ought to swap that over.
Yeah, cool.
Just change that to the Modus, because otherwise you've got, I think, particularly with having it through the rest of the set, you're then going to something that's just that slightly harder work, marginally. Yeah. But there's absolutely no reason to be in a different one into that. Let's keep that in line with the irons.
Okay.
Yeah. With the grip, so you mentioned wanting a slightly fatter grip. I think
it might just be because they're worn. I mean, I think I gave them, I can't remember, I think it was post-pandemic. You re-gripped them.
Yeah, and these ones do, the BCTs, the 12 course, do kind of pack down a little bit more than some. So, and they can kind of, with those ones, they can kind of shine up a little bit more. So I think with where the cord sits, they can feel a little bit thinner than others.
And I thought it felt quite nice.
But layering wise, they're the same layers underneath.
Interesting.
So where these ones, you say, I think they because of the way the cord sits, they do feel a little bit thinner, because you lose a little, there's no sort of external tread like there is on this one. You've got that tread pattern to it. And so I've checked the notes, they are exactly the same amount of layers underneath. The dynamic gold shaft narrows a little bit quicker, so bottom hand on this is a little bit slower.
Yeah, the bottom hand, the right hand on my one feels different to the one.
Yeah, the shaft narrows a little bit quicker, so be interesting to see.
I actually quite like having the kind of the bottom hand be a little bit more pronounced, because you kind of feel a bit more controlled through it.
Yeah, and looking at it's something that we've looked at a lot more over the last couple of years, and that one, I wouldn't want to go any narrower than that, because that's just about filling that finger out. Whereas that one, I think, you're just going to have to, you can see you've got to close that finger down a touch more. So you could build it up slightly more if you wanted another layer or so.
I think so.
I don't think you have to go up to the +4 side of things, but just make sure we reduce that taper down a little bit more.
Well, if these are sort of able to be put back on, I mean, I think going another layer might be quite
Going
nice.
those and just taking the taper
If you
out.
can, you mentioned these are quite difficult.
And they've
to
been
come
a
by,
bit tricky. James, the toilet cords in terms of availability at the moment. Yeah, we'll double check. But
Cool.
yeah, as long as they're available, we can do that same layer.
And then if not, I just do these with logo down.
Got it.
Although they look a bit different if I do the logo down.
I mean, the other one, if you like the cord and that bit of coarseness, the other one that would give you that would be, where has it gone? That's the mid-side. But it is a little bit of a firmer feel. You've got the Z cords, which are probably closer to your current ones than the multi-compound, but they are.
It's the white, to be honest.
Yeah,
there's a lot going on there. Yeah. I know that these have the white too, but they're a bit more muted. It's a bit more muted.
Got it. Okay, so yeah, if we can get the tall velvet cords still,
okay,
we'll do those and we'll just reduce the taper down the bottom hand.
Cool.
If not, then we've got the multi-compounds as a backup. Great. Then logo down on both of those.
And then this one, the 60, I think. I mean, it's something. I am a reasonably good golfer, and the bounce still is something which I like and get a bit blocked over.
Yeah.
But so this one has less bounce than my 55.
Yes.
So yeah, okay.
So reason being is that one, then you've got this one that can give you a little bit more bounce on the back edge, so that if you do have like really softer turf or softer sand, you can open that a little bit, and that gives you loads to work with. And that one, where it's graduated off a little bit, sits a little bit tighter. So like this time of year, you can nip it off a tighter lie.
Okay.
Or winter bunkers, you can square it off and it's still going to get into it.
Yeah.
So having that bit of progression just means that can kind of get into the back of the ball a little bit cleaner. And because you're not someone you're not very sort of laggy and steep onto it, that's where you don't need massive amounts of bounce on this one.
Yeah,
So,
okay. All right.
Look at face-wise. So it's whether on the 60. It's whether
Again,
that's
not clean, but
no. I'm sort of looking at the kind of grooves and tread. It's whether it's just starting to. Yeah, if we were from one of these brands, we're saying you need to change your wedge because you've used more than 70 rounds. The 60 is probably the closest to it. There's definitely on that bottom grooves. There's a little bit of softening on the bottom grooves, whereas with these ones, with the 56, you can see where it's been used a little bit less. Okay. And this will be a bunker club as well.
Although where I play, sometimes it gets quite fluffy and deep. So I've actually taken the 55 out, just knowing that it's going to be a bit,
Yeah, and that's where probably because you've used that a little bit more, the face is just worn a little bit more. It's not gone certainly. It would be technically, a fresher face on the 60 would just give you a little bit more grip. And these being the original mill grind, they're the MG2s, so you've had the 3s and so there's the 4 coming in. So what I'm looking at, I'll just show on this, is just on the very bottom groove here, or the very bottom of the face, there's a little bit of wear. The top edge of the groove's just rounding off very slightly. Not massively. Some of the tread pattern between the grooves is just.
I do just want to say I do clean them before I come.
Oh, trust me, this is nothing compared to some.
I have it in my. It's off camera, but I do have one of those scrubby things, so don't worry.
So it's not gone, but they'll probably, if not this year, probably next year, be worth a change of face. It's whether
I heard something which was quite helpful on one of the podcasts I listened to, saying that when you're going to change your grips, change the wedges. Is that too soon?
I guess most people would. The tour guys change them every few weeks. Most players, if you've got one that you particularly practice with, then that will always wear a bit quicker. But we see wedges 2 to 3 years. Okay. Being realistic with it. So this one, it's not like there's no grooves there. There's still grooves there, but the tread between the grooves has filed down because this one's used in sand, so it's like sandpaper on it. So your bunker club will always wear the quickest, but there's still a bit of edge to the top edge of the groove, so it's not completely gone. Okay. But if it gets a bit wet, you get in a bit of rough, it might just want to pop up a little bit. So technically, for peak performance, you'd say replace that. The other two are still fine.
Cool.
But
fine is good for me. Yeah.
You know, that one, this one, you know, I would certainly look to change that next year.
Okay. Well, maybe what I'll do is
so
I'll try out
see
the
how-
whole makeup of the set, and then when because I've got a feeling I probably, just because of my sort of, you know, just liking things to be uniformed, I probably will change the shafts in them.
Yeah.
According to what you say. So when I do that, maybe I'll
Might
do
be
the whole,
worth
the whole
doing a
shebang.
refresh potentially. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Grand.
Cool.
So yeah, a little bit lighter on the shafts, a little more forgiveness on the head, a little lower spin on the from the head as well.
Yeah.
I think Pro V1 would be a good switch for Pro V1X.
Okay, interesting. 'Cause I've got some in my bag.
And then slightly easier to get the best out of them.
Cool.
Great.
Excellent. Well, thank you very
Lovely,
much.
no problem at
Always
all.
a pleasure to
Great
come here.
stuff.